Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to Realty Podcast. I'm Lo. I have hijacked the host chair this week, and Haley Davis is here, as always, but we have a very special guest in the hot seat today. We have Jared Graybeal, CEO, Superfit Foods, and owner of E3 Business Solutions. It's a boutique consultant agency. Superfit Foods, you guys have probably heard of it. It's a very healthy food company here. They have amazing meal prep. He's also an athlete and a very successful entrepreneur. So welcome, Jared.
Thanks for having me.
We're so stoked to have you.
We
I've
are
heard so much
super
about
pumped.
you.
Stoked to be here. Hopefully it's good stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. It's
Yeah.
always a good time. He brought us some juice.
Oh, he did. Oh my gosh. So
what are you drinking?
my juice is called Happy. It has grapefruit, peeled oranges, ginger root, and cayenne.
And mine is healthy, and it's green, and you'd think it wouldn't be good, but it's delicious, and it has kale, spinach, cucumber, pineapple, and celery. It's bomb.
Happy and healthy.
Yes,
literally-
That's me and Lauren. Happy and healthy.
I mean-
High five to that. Woo!
High five. Our team is very healthy. So
We
that's part of the
try.
reason we wanted you on the show, to kind of talk to you and get all of your secrets,
Yes.
and just talk to you about being an entrepreneur. But first, I just want to go over how I met Jared. I moved to Jacksonville about 3 years ago. And I know Jared and I haven't really connected in a long time, but I met him when I went to Celebration Church. And of course, he was a very fit person, and I came here as a personal trainer. So I was really wowed by him and his success in the community, and just continued to follow him the last couple of years in his business, and just really looked up to him as an awesome influencer. So I met him when I moved here, but I just want to introduce Jared and kind of, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background?
I was born in Lakeland, Florida, which is, in between Tampa and Orlando.
Yeah, I'm familiar. It's awesome.
Where Publix started.
Oh,
I did not know that.
Most people
Land
don't
of the
know
pub sub.
that. Yeah. So we put us on the map. But that's where I was born and raised. I moved to Jacksonville about 8-9 years ago, originally to help expand LA Fitness out here. So at the time, LA
sweet.
Fitness was opening up, I think, 5 stores at the same time. And so I was a relatively successful GM in the Central Florida market, and then we were opening up stores out here, and they were bigger and better and brand new. So I took that opportunity, and that's what brought me to Jacksonville. So that's where I'm from, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, fitness is definitely your background, as we know, but, what's inspired you to be an entrepreneur? How did you go from being, intertwined with LA Fitness and coming to Jacksonville? How did you start Superfit Foods? Just tell us about how you became an entrepreneur.
That's a great question. I think it's probably two different answers. One, like entrepreneur, which the funny thing about that word is that I think maybe 10, 20 years ago, that word actually wasn't as cool as it is now.
Very true.
Like my dad growing up, the word entrepreneur meant like you can't keep a job,
Yeah. It's
so
almost a bad thing.
yeah, it was like you're not committed to the corporate world or whatever. But now it's this fun word we toss around a lot, and I think growing up I was naturally an entrepreneur. From the age of I remember being 11 years old and spending any of the money that I had on popsicles before school, and then reselling those at school for 50 cents a piece so I could leave
Oh my
school.
gosh.
You get 30 popsicles for I think $3, and if you sell them for 50 cents a piece, you make $15, and so now I've got $12 profit. And
That's great.
Why didn't I think of that?
most people don't, but growing up we were really poor, so we had free lunch. Thank God for free lunch. But my friends had the pizza slices and the spicy chicken sandwiches, and so that's what I wanted. So it was just well, how do I get that?
Right.
And so that's what sort of started my entrepreneurial journey early. Was okay, let me find out how to make enough money to fit in, I guess. And then from there it turned into. I went on to, from the time that I was 11. You may not know this, so hopefully it's appropriate for the podcast. But 11 to 17, I sold weed. And now it's not so frowned upon, but back then it was. And so I got in trouble and spent some time in jail, and then on house arrest for 2 years.
Wow.
And so,
Man.
yeah. I talk a little bit about it, but it's maybe not public knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's what,
It's all fair game on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Safe
free
space,
here.
yep.
Yeah.
you can invest in marijuana stocks these days, so it's not as frowned upon as it
yeah.
once was.
A little
So
bit more mainstream.
unfortunately, it was back then, and so I got in a lot of trouble for it, and that's ultimately what led me to the fitness industry. Was I had to stop being a pothead.
Yeah.
So, and
We all know that kid in high school, too.
Yeah, and I was that kid, but I was really good at what I did for a living, and so I've just translated everything I've learned. I mean, I read a book at I was 12 years old, and we went to this little youth group, which at the time, like, I don't remember any scriptures that we were read, but I do remember we were given a book one time, and I was 12, so How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I've heard that's a great book.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And back then I had no interest in reading the Bible, but I read that book, and it changed the game for me. I mean, again, I was like 12 years old selling pot, but like just the principles you learn from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie's a legend. So long story short, I've been an entrepreneur as long as I knew the value of money, but how did I start Superfit Foods is really a different story. So I went on to obviously leave the selling weed game.
The weed biz.
Yeah. And
Upgrading.
when I was in jail, I was really inspired to become a personal trainer. And when I got out, I pursued that and got a job at Gold's Gym doing sales, because it's like the whole, well, you don't have experience doing training, so you have experience in sales, we'll hire you for that. And so I did really well, got promoted to sales manager, became a GM, came to Jacksonville, and knew for a long time I didn't want to be at like a corporate health club for the rest of my life. There's a lot of upward mobility in especially LA Fitness, because it's a massive corporation, but I didn't love what I was doing there. So I always knew I wanted to own a gym. To make a really long story short, I took a leap of faith in January of 2015 to open up my own gym. I had an investor with $250,000 approved to go back to Lakeland and open up a small group personal training facility, somewhat like maybe Orange Theory or something like that. And the weekend I moved back, it was actually January 31st, the Saturday that I hauled all my stuff back to Lakeland. We partied that night, celebrating a couple things. One, the Super Bowl is the next day. My birthday's February 1st, so that was the next day.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, we were going to start the construction on this unit. And Sunday morning, the next day, I got a call from the investor, and he backed out.
Oh.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So I was devastated, and I didn't really know what to do.
Did he say why?
He just wasn't in the fitness industry, and his financial advisor had advised him not to get into.
For him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He was trying to leverage his own money independently, and his advisors didn't like it. So, long story short, again, I started training one-on-one, like for the first time in years. I wasn't working for anybody. I was working for myself, and I loved it. And then I just had an encounter with a member at Gold's Gym. He was a local supplement store owner, somewhat of an entrepreneur, and he approached me and was like, what do you want to do long term? And I was like, well, I'm not really thinking about that right now. For the first time in probably my whole life, I wasn't thinking long term, because I was really enjoying training, and I was making a lot of money. But he was like, dude, you don't want to train forever. Like, you don't just want to train forever. And I was like, well, okay, that's fair.
It's a hard industry to really. We've talked about this
it
before.
Really is.
It's a hard industry to take really far and make a lot of money doing.
Yeah, I mean, of course you're limited to the amount of people that you can work with on a daily basis, and depending on where you're training, you're of course limited to your income. And so, my main thing, it wasn't necessarily the income, because I was making an unrealistic amount of money doing one-on-one training, but it was like I can only see 40 people a week.
Right.
Yeah. There's a cap.
And then I've just got this growth mindset that I sort of stuffed away for a short period of time. So when I met Frank, was his name, he was like, you want to open up a business. And I thought, well, all I do is the gym. And he's like, well, what about meal prep? You're a nutrition specialist. You're a bodybuilder. I was a bodybuilder at the time, and I had done that for 4 years competitively. And all my clients saw results because I pushed the nutrition agenda. I mean, I wasn't writing specific plans, and I wasn't one of those trainers that you have to eat like me to look like me kind of guy. It was very customized, but all my clients saw results, and he was like, I'm sure they would buy. And I'm like, that's true. So in May of 2015, I came up with the name Superfit Foods, and we got a LLC, and a quarter of my clients signed up right away. And so within a couple weeks, we were selling a couple hundred meals, and
they're like, thanks for making this easier for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I've been training and working with people in the gym space for years, and the one thing I've heard all the time is if somebody would make it for me, I'd eat it. And I was like, okay,
okay,
we'll
I got you.
Yeah. And we did, and it grew really quickly. And then I came back to Jacksonville in November of 15, because at that time I had stopped training, so I had tapered off my training over time. I needed an income. I wasn't paying myself from the business right away. So then November I came back to Jax. February of 16, we expanded the company to Northeast Florida by doing our pickup spot model. We sort of innovated that way. And then by September of 18, I bought out my partner and relocated the business to Northeast Florida. We shut down our Lakeland operations and started shipping nationwide.
Wow.
So kind of
that's
just
awesome.
a lot of moving parts.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a long story
Wow,
short.
what an incredible story.
That is really cool.
I had some of those things that you pointed out, I had no idea that you went through all that and did that. So,
yeah, that's cool.
I mean, now Superfit Foods is doing great. So looking back, can you pick out maybe the hardest or the most challenging thing that you've had to overcome getting your business to where it is now?
Well, it would be so hard to pick one, but I mean, building Superfit Foods has been the hardest thing I've ever accomplished. And I don't even know if I've accomplished it yet, because it's just like this lifelong journey of building a business.
I see you everywhere.
Yeah,
so you've definitely,
you're doing a really good job
Yeah.
marketing. You're on everything.
Marketing is on point.
The marketing is the funnest part, but from building a business bootstrapped, right? So we've never taken an investor. We've never had any seed money or like venture money or anything like that. So it's self-funded, and of course I had a partner for a long time, and buying that partner out was a complicated process, and we've had issues, legal battles with tech companies on building proprietary software to run the business. There's so many levels of adversity in business in general. I mean, fallouts, small things from at one point my older brother was our lead cook, and I had to let him go. And and that was 2.5 years ago. I probably talked to him twice since then.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So there's things like that where it's complicated. Like, that's a leadership struggle, not so much a business struggle. But then there's the business struggles of we've had a hurricane, I think Hurricane Matthew 3 years ago, something like that. It just came through, and obviously it devastated a lot of people's homes and businesses, but it wrecked our kitchen.
Wow.
And we weren't prepared for that.
God.
We were brand new to we didn't know,
Jeez.
And so we lost $40,000 in a day. We ended up, God works all things for the good, right? So we donated, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 meals to a local shelter, because
That's incredible.
we couldn't deliver them to our clients. So we had to refund all of our clients.
Oh my
and then,
God.
yeah, so and being a bootstrap small business that at the time was in debt, you're typically, when you're building a business, you have a level of debt. And so that was on the brink of taking us out. And then a hurricane came a year later and did the same thing. But this time we had hurricane insurance, but the insurance company denied our claim. So it's
wow.
Just
you
one
go
after the other.
you go to litigation against your own insurance company to get money that they owe you, because you've
Right.
been paying for insurance, for hurricane insurance on
Now
your
they won't
property.
cover
Yeah,
you.
so it's there's so many things to running a business that's not glorified. Of course, I'm not going to talk about that on my Instagram story.
Right, yeah.
And then, I think the greatest consistent struggle is being a team leader, building a team that wants to work around a vision.
Absolutely.
And the greatest adversity is the fact that we're fighting an uphill battle. We're selling healthy food, and everyone knows the most easily accessible and affordable food out there is not healthy.
Yeah.
So when people are like, oh, what do you think about your competitors? I don't consider other meal prep companies to be competitors. I think of McDonald's,
Yeah.
KFC, Chick-fil-A, Panera Bread, everything that you pass by on your way to work every single day that you can spend $2.99 and get a whole meal from. That's our real competitor, and that's the greatest adversity that we deal with every day.
That's such a good point.
But yeah, there's countless. There's so many. Some I can't even talk about because I have to sign these disclosures and stuff like
yeah,
that.
I bet. Well, flipping that, so going away from the challenges, obviously, like Haley said, you're everywhere. So how did you grow your sphere of influence? How did you get your following so big and get all these people to trust you and to buy into your business? I know you had clients in the beginning, but how did you branch out from there?
I learned a lot when I was much younger. So before LA Fitness, I worked for a company called Lifestyle Family Fitness. And if you're a Jacksonville resident, there was 2 locations here years ago. It got bought out by LA, which is why I transitioned. But Lifestyle Family Fitness was bullish on everything customer service. And so I don't say this to be funny, from my time selling weed from 11 to 17, and then I was in telemarketing for 2 years, and then going to Lifestyle Family Fitness and doing all the sales training and the customer service training. I mean, honestly, to be to be a reputable pot guy in high school, like you have to be on time, you have to give them what they ask for, you can't rip people off, like you have to be consistent, and it's like all that stuff is a given, but most people don't practice that in business. Everyone's trying to give you less for more, and so on and so forth. But then at Lifestyle Family Fitness, we learned so many small things about how to treat people, how to carry yourself in customer service roles, because in reality, everything we do, if you want to be successful long term, it is customer service and it is sales. A lot of people say, well, I don't like doing customer service. Well, then you probably won't like your job very much, or you won't like your income.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, I'm not really much of a salesperson, or I'm not into sales. But if you want to make money, or if you want to make an impact, you need to learn how to sell. And so at Lifestyle Family Fitness, we learned things like, when someone says, how's your day? We weren't allowed to say good. And we had like secret shoppers. We had to say great, fantastic, awesome. And if we say it, we have to mean it. And so it's like, what can we do to make today great? And so there was things like that we learned. And then I read a book called Raving Fans when I was like 18. And so my mission has always been to have raving fans. And so to answer your question, like how do we build this following? It wasn't that when we started Superfit Foods, I thought, well, I need to become an influencer to make this successful. And I didn't think like, well, Superfit Foods has to have X amount of followers to be successful. I just knew the basics of like the day we start this company, we need to build a social media, and then we need to be active on that social media platform every single day. And then we need to brand ourselves to align with our mission. And our mission is to empower others to live happier, healthier lives. And so we need to be educational. We have to fulfill our values of putting people first, educating others, the things that we committed to when we started the business, and then display those in a way that's visually appealing on social media. And then inevitably you'll gain a following. And so, and then as far as the raving fans goes, like, again, since starting this company, healthy food is not sexy. Like, gym clothes are sexy, supplements are sexy. Like, if you start one of those companies, people will put your stuff, look at my new pants,
Yeah,
or
it's
look
easy
at
to
my
get models for
Yeah.
things like that, I feel like.
Healthy food is not. Like, most
Yeah.
people aren't like, oh my God, look at my grilled chicken. You know what I mean?
Some of us are.
Yeah.
Not everyone.
Not everyone, right? So it's like, and it doesn't help with a filter, and just, so it's just been about like high level customer service. And if you look at the competitors in the space, the other meal prep companies, a couple things that I knew going into this business was nobody's customizable. So most, if not all, meal prep companies have like an 8 to 12 meal menu. It's super limiting, and it might cater to some people, but most people are too picky for that. They're gluten-free, or they're vegan, or they don't like broccoli, or just these small things. And I thought, if we're going to start a company, we're going to be fully customizable. So if you don't like chicken breast, but you like pulled chicken, cool. You can just get pulled chicken, or whatever it is. So that was like the foundation of building this. And then we're going to commit to that long term, right? So we're never going to scale back on that whenever we hit it big, and we're going to be like, all right, now we have 8 options since we've got 500 clients or something stupid like that. So we committed to customer service at a high level. And then if you buy from another meal prep company, or even if you go to McDonald's or most fast food restaurants, you're going to get crappy customer service. That's why people like Chick-fil-A. It's not just the chicken nuggets. It's because of customer service. And so we knew that we had to have a full-time customer service staff, and that's an investment up front, like having someone available 9 to 4 every single day to talk clients through the sign-up process and help people with that. And if people have a bad experience, we don't necessarily believe the customer is always right. We believe the educated customer is always right. So we double down on educating our clients on how the system works and the value of healthy eating. And then if we make a mistake, we double down on refunds and making it right by sending them free product or whatever it is, because we always, pun intended, want to leave a good taste in people's mouth. So
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
awesome.
Wow. I had no idea there was that much behind Superfit Foods and just the customer service.
Yeah.
He's right. That really does set you apart from another, meal prep company.
Absolutely. It plays a huge part in our business, too.
Oh,
customer
absolutely.
service.
Yeah,
Any sales.
Yeah,
You
that's
have to have
extremely
that, so,
relatable.
yeah.
Okay, Jared. So, kind of switching gears for a second, we learned where you're from. We learned about Superfit Foods, kind of behind the scenes. So, where do you want to take your career? What's next for you? How are you going to get to the next level?
Well, what's next for me? I'm an entrepreneur, right? And my first child is Superfit Foods, technically. So it's like, that's my number one priority, is continuing to build this brand, to reach more people, to innovate our product. I mean, we're working on a user app, a mobile app,
That's awesome.
We're working on rebuilding our kitchen out to expand our capacity. We're always working on the future despite whatever the future holds, right? Like I can't plan for next year. I don't know what the next pandemic will be or anything like that, but we're geared towards growth. So my number one priority is feeding more people. Like I get that question from investors and people all the time, like what's the plan for Superfit? And we don't have a narrow vision. If you talk to a lot of consultants, they'll tell you need to have a narrow vision. I think what we do is a little bit different. We want to feed more people and we want to make eating clean cool. So that's the broad vision. How we're going to do it might look a little bit different, but we're going to adapt to the circumstances. For example, this year I didn't think we'd be doing home delivery.
Yeah.
I knew it was in the future, but COVID happened.
Yeah.
We started doing home delivery within 48 hours, and it's been a huge blessing. But it was a pain in the butt to do it in the beginning. I mean, I was up at 4 a.m. doing deliveries myself for a couple months, you know?
That's insane.
So
It's a great way that you've adapted over all
Yeah,
this. 'cause
I was
there's
going
a
to
lot
ask
of
you,
small
you know,
Yeah.
how did the pandemic kind of affect the way that you guys do business? You know, it seems like you've
Yeah.
adapted.
I'll jump into that in a second if that's one of your questions.
Yeah.
But so the future of me, I mean, this has been a somewhat of a breakaway year for me personally and professionally, and sort of all the dust settling from buying out my partner and being able to run this company entirely on my own, which is a great thing. And the team has gotten stronger, more competent. We have better people coming on board over time. And so Superfit long term is just going to continue to grow and be a nationwide brand at some point within the next couple of years, we think. Personally, I'm interested in a lot of different things. I love working out, so I'll be competing in CrossFit competitions over the next year just to test that out. I mean, in my early 20s, I did bodybuilding. Mid-20s, I did weightlifting or powerlifting. And then now just in love with the world of CrossFit and how challenging that is. So personally, that's something that, I mean, I'm training 2-3 hours a day for.
Nuts.
And we'll see. I've got a lot of injuries and I'm 30 now. So, like, it's creeping up fast. But
The CrossFit community in Jacksonville is really
Yeah, it's really
grown.
strong.
super
There's
strong,
A, bunch of
a lot of
different-
fun. Yeah, I mean, the community's fantastic. So I love that. And then I'm interested in real estate, which is, you know, always a great conversation. I've been passionately pursuing knowledge around stocks and the stock market,
Yeah.
especially because of this year and how everything has just changed. Everything we know about the economy as it relates to stocks has changed. And then I'm publishing a book in December.
That's
Awesome.
So that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be my first book being published.
Can you tell us what it's called, or has that not been
Are you
out
allowed
yet?
to give us a sneak
Yeah, I don't
peek?
think I'm not allowed.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's told me that I can't, but it's called the Self-Help Book.
That's
Oh.
cool.
Yeah, I'm so surprised that nobody has taken that name. And it was just the perfect name for the book. It's 6 Ways to Never Stop Growing.
Oh, I
And
love
so-
that.
That's
That's great. We'll have to have
perfect.
you back on.
Yeah.
After
Yeah,
that comes
I'm
out.
super excited about that. So I'm going through the publishing process right now. I'm launching a couple new products in January. The company's called Equip, and it's temperature compression. So imagine like if you could heat up your Under Armour wrist wrap or elbow sleeve, or if you could freeze it based off of whether or not you're too tight or you're too sore. So I'm coming out with a line of products like that by
Cool.
January.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm always working on a lot of different things, and so
Diversifying.
I know.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
Yeah.
to keep track of all these.
yeah, that's a handful of them. So hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, for sure. It answered it and more. Always.
Absolutely.
So going back to the pandemic, I know you touched on that a little bit. How have you guys had to adapt your business to just everything that's going on? I know that we have, especially with our team in real estate. But
Absolutely.
how about
Yeah.
you? How have you guys adapted?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the pandemic is such a touchy subject to talk about because so many people have been devastated by this thing. Obviously, so many people have lost their lives or at the least gotten sick, and so it's an odd thing to talk about. But for Superfit Foods, it's been one of the most pivotal seasons because of our ability to adapt to adversity that we've acquired over the years. And I think from my upbringing and how I'm just used to change, and adversity is kind of a regular, it's like a Tuesday. So like when the COVID sort of started taking place, and I mean, I was reading about it in China, like reading about what was going on in China, and it didn't really, I don't think anybody was paying much attention to it at the time. But when it started affecting like California, because, California is pretty progressive, and when they started shutting down businesses, that's when the red flag went up for me. And nobody in Florida was talking about it. But I thought, if the gyms shut down, then Superfit shuts down, because 80% of our locations are gyms. And so that's not an option for me. And so I thought, well, we need to do home delivery, and we need to do it by Thursday. And this was on a Tuesday morning. So we realized at that time we didn't have any of our clients' addresses, except for our shipping clients. And I was like, how the heck do we not have our clients' addresses? So we had to like manually reach out to all these clients.
Wow.
We ended up hiring about 15 people over the next like 10 days to do
gosh.
delivery, because we transitioned within 48 hours from doing the pickup spot model, where we deliver on average 20 to 30 clients to each location, to about 30 locations. And now we're delivering to 600 homes on Monday and Thursday morning. So like the logistics were a nightmare. We were really late the first couple of days because we promised it by around 12. We were there about like 3, 4, 5 p.m. on the first couple of days. And then I was like, well, we need to hire a lot more people, which was exciting because people were getting laid off. So I just made a Instagram post like, hey, we're hiring, and like 10 people DM me within an hour. So like hiring people's never been easier. So yeah, we adapted and became a home delivery company, and now that's part of our model. Obviously the gyms have opened back up, so we're there. So about 60%.
Is your product in gyms?
So like we don't sell it retail.
Okay.
It's all subscription based. So you order online, you choose your gym, or you could pick it up from Degree Wellness or a multitude of places.
Okay,
So
cool.
First Place Sports, stuff like that.
And you mainly serve Jacksonville?
Yeah, Northeast Florida. So we're in like St. Augustine,
Okay.
Jax Beach, Ponte Vedra to Orange Park. So the greater Jacksonville area.
Sure.
And then we ship nationwide. So if you're not local, you can just order it to your doorstep.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. Okay, switching gears again. I know I have you all over the place today. I know that you touched on investments, and you're very, forward-minded. You're trying to touch on all these different investments. What about real estate? Do you own any real estate now? Is that something that you're trying to kind of make your way into investing?
Yeah, but no, I don't own any real estate. I've been interested. I don't want to say that I've been like super interested in it, because the way that my mind works is I know the things that I want to learn about in the future, but I know that if I learn them now, I'll forget them by the time I need them. That's just how information works. And so I have a handful of friends in the real estate space, a couple that are really successful in it, like buying, selling, flipping, owning, renting, all the fun stuff. And so I've just known like one day I'll get into it, but over the past 5 years, I've leveraged my personal cash to grow the business. And especially with buying out a partner, it was like restarting a business, doubling down on the risk to invest in owning all the equity. So like all my money's been tied up for a long time until this year. And so like on a large scale, and so strategically buying real estate is not a cheap process.
No.
So it's been something I've just had in the back burner until really now, which I've begun to look into. And I've got a great friend who is a real estate agent, and so I've been working with him on like looking at different opportunities and learning about all the nuances of real estate, right? Like you've got people that are crazy passionate about fix and flip, and you've got people that long-term equity rentals, and you've got people that do the in-between, and you've got like the don't use any of your cash to buy a house, and it's kind of a real thing. And so I'm just like learning about all these different options before I take a step in it, because I want to have a level of competence. I don't like to ever be the one in the room that doesn't know anything. I like to know a little bit.
There's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
So you can swing it all different ways.
Yeah, there's not
creative
just one
financing,
way.
your own way, fix and flip, buy and hold.
Yeah.
Like
And then the
house
different
hack,
markets and like, okay, I live in Neptune Beach, so it's like, of course, the first place I looked was Neptune Beach, and there's nothing there.
There's low inventory.
And so yeah, it's like no unless you have $1.1 million.
Yeah.
But so just like I've begun to learn about that, and I actually had dinner with my real estate agent / good friend last night, and just I'm like, tell me what you know that I haven't read yet, like what, because he does fix and flips and he owns a bunch of properties and he is a real estate agent, kind of I guess it works really well when you do all that. So so I'm like, how does it all work for
it's
you?
addictive. Just wait.
Yeah, and
Once
I mean,
you get one,
yeah.
One more.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm in the process of learning about all that, and looking at taking advantage of opportunities.
Well, a
and
lot
just
of your
waiting.
money sounds like it's invested like back in yourself too.
That's
And that's
good.
the best person to invest in. 'Cause
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
yourself the best.
100%.
So
That's awesome. Well, okay, what would be your favorite area to buy real estate in? I know that you're a beach guy, so if you were going to buy a property, where would your first property be?
If I was going to live in it, Neptune Beach.
Okay.
It's a
I
great
think
area.
Neptune Beach is a slice of heaven.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And I've been all over the country the past couple years, and there's not many places I like as much as Neptune Beach. So Neptune Beach, if I were to buy a personal residence, if I was going to buy a rental property or a fix and flip, I think probably Riverside or Murray Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good area.
Yeah.
The return's great over there.
Yeah, I would imagine. And it's just like,
And the rental market.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like people are, I mean, there's all that stuff going on. I mean, we've got the people that built the Beltline in Atlanta building like a Beltline in Jacksonville. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys saw
That's
that.
cool. No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet. We'll
Yeah.
have
I
to look
did hear
into
about that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, check out the 9 to 4 Happy Hour page. If you go back a couple months, you'll see Charles posted, or whoever runs their
Yeah.
page posted the images, like the drawings for it, and it's going to be like a 5 mile or 10
Yeah,
mile
I heard
loop
about that a long time
going
ago.
from
and
like 20 different breweries, and I'm making this stuff up kind of, but like different schools. It just interloops everything. I don't know if you guys ever been to the Beltline in Atlanta.
I think I
haven't-
have, but it's been a really long
Oh,
time.
it's awesome. So like basically it's, I don't know, 5 miles long, and you can, people are riding bikes, they're running, they're walking, they're on the scooter things, and it just goes from like a outdoor mall to 20 different restaurants.
Yeah.
desperately need some kind
I
of
know
interconnectivity
Jacksonville
in
needs
Jacksonville.
that. It's so broad and
Yes.
just
Yeah, so that's
Spaced out.
going up in Riverside, Murray Hill area. And what I love about that is that it's not going in Neptune Beach. So like people aren't moving to Neptune Beach in the droves, you know? Like I just
Yes.
love
Yeah.
it's like a best kept secret.
It is.
I definitely agree.
So like everyone's going to the Riverside, Murray Hill. It's so affordable too. I mean,
Yeah.
to get a 3-2 in Neptune Beach is 800,000. To get over there it's 250. So
Yep. Max 250
yeah.
in Murray Hill especially.
so that's where I would buy if I was going to rent it or fix and flip or anything like that. Murray Hill, Riverside, in
That's
Jacksonville
awesome.
at least.
Historic.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
that's really smart. So do you have plans to stay in Jax for a long time then? Do you see yourself never leaving here?
I don't see myself never leaving, but I don't have plans. So I guess it just depends on the way the world shifts and changes. I mean, like I said, the majority of my focus is on Superfit Foods, and Superfit Foods is based out of Northeast Florida, but we got rid of our offices when COVID happened, and we've been really successful without them. I travel a lot because I can, and I love to travel. Who doesn't? So for the most part, I mean, I'm a virtual CEO when I need to be. If I'm in town, then I meet with my team regularly. So I don't have anything necessarily physically holding me here. I've got a dog that I love, but she goes with the flow.
That's
so
a good companion.
I know.
yeah, and she's great for road trips and everything. So she loves to travel. But anyways, you know, I don't have wife and kid. I don't have something that's like, oh, like I have to stay.
Yeah.
So if there's an opportunity that comes up, or if I just feel like something pulls me somewhere else, then I'll go. But like I said, I love Neptune Beach. So for the near future, I'm here.
Do you feel like there's a market that you would do really well in that you haven't tapped yet? Maybe in another state like California. West
Yeah, for
Coast?
sure, California.
Yeah. They love healthy eating there.
Yeah, they love health. I mean, going to California, in my opinion, especially LA, which I don't love LA, but LA is super innovative. It's like going to the future, and in both good ways and bad. Bad, there's a ton of homeless people everywhere.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Good, there's business. I mean, like even the dentistries out there have super innovative architecture. You know, you're like, where we have boring buildings in
Yeah.
Florida.
So
you know?
true.
So I love that part, and I love the fact. I mean, I spent an hour at a coffee shop in Newport Beach on my way from LA to San Diego, and I met 2 millionaires. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily care so much about what people make, but the fact that you've gotten there means that you've created some things, or you've gotten really lucky. But most of the time,
there is building something. That's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're all compacted into a very small space.
Yeah.
So you're bound to meet somebody when you're there.
the likelihood of that serendipitous moment, you know, the Facebook stuff, and is going to happen there far more than it's going to. I mean, I love it here, but I rarely have the type of. I rarely meet my next business partner at the coffee shop in
Right.
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. Well, I want to kind of skip towards the end here. And, you know, going back to all the things that you've kind of talked about from point A to point B, I just want to know who inspires you and why. Because you said a lot of really, I wish I took notes. I need to go back and listen to this because there have been
We're gonna
a
have
lot.
to get those books. For
Yeah,
you
we
guys.
need some tips. So can you just go over kind of who inspires you and maybe some books that you've read that are really, really that have kind of been pivotal in your journey?
yeah. I'm an avid reader. I've been reading a lot since I was like 10 years old.
Leaders are readers.
Yeah, and so I have a ton of books. I'll try to just give you a couple. How to Win Friends and Influence People, like no matter what stage of life you're in. And the name can throw people off these days because we're so much like, ooh, I don't want to manipulate. It's not about that. It's just a good title for the book. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So don't overthink that. If you're in business, either Built to Last or Good to Great, both same author, Jim Collins. It's kind of one comes before the other. So if you're in business, not necessarily an entrepreneur, but if you're in business, that's a game-changing book. We've applied every principle of that book to the business, and it's changed everything for us. How to Win Friends and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That one was a hard read for me.
Stephen Covey?
It was good, but first of all, Stephen Covey is like the guy that created the planner, basically. Yeah. So that is an interesting one. That it was dry. It was hard for me to read, but I've heard it's great.
Super practical.
Yeah.
So those are 3. I mean, I have countless, and I think I have a couple blogs on my website where I've written like 20 favorite books or something like that.
What about podcasts?
Podcasts. The Business Casual podcast with Kinsey Grant from Morning Brew. You guys would love it. She's like a 25-year-old chick that knows everything about business. She works for Morning Brew, which is a company in New York City. Started out as a newsletter, and that's what they mainly are, but they just have the most information packed into one newsletter every single day.
Awesome.
That's cool.
So, I mean, she's had Ray Dalio on her show. Like, it's like they have like 100 million downloads.
That's cool.
It's a really big deal.
Wow.
So Business Casual, anything from NPR. I like Hidden Brain or How I Built This.
Yes. How I Built This is so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm such a nerd about How I Built
Guy
This.
Raz is amazing narrator as well. He's got a really cool voice.
And then I love Tim Ferriss. I think when I have time to listen to a 2-3 hour show, like Tim Ferriss is my go-to. On Sundays, I'll normally go kayaking and just listen to Tim Ferriss because he brings the most fascinating people onto his show. And then book, I would recommend Tools of Titans, honestly. And it's basically a compilation of all of his interviews with people from like Arnold Schwarzenegger to Peter Thiel, who invested in the first investor in Facebook. You know what I mean? So Tim Ferriss has a knack for bringing people around him and getting information out of some of the most interesting people in the world.
That's awesome.
And then what was your other question? Leaders.
Yes.
So this is cliche, of course, but from a level of like servanthood and passion, Jesus Christ, right? Like,
love it.
I mean, I'll never, like, just his level of leadership's a little bit different in context than mine, right? But just his ability to serve his people, I think, is just the greatest example of servanthood. And to be a good leader, you have to be a good servant. But taking that within context, in today's day and age, as far as like innovation and inspiration, I think Elon Musk is the most fascinating human being.
He's definitely interesting.
Yeah, and I think honestly, because he's so controversial, I don't think he gets enough credit for his acumen. But the guy's doing more than anybody on the planet.
I definitely agree.
He's putting people on the moon. I mean, he's got
like Mars,
holes underground.
He's having kids now too, so there's a whole nother generation.
Well, yeah, he's got like 5 or 6 kids. Which is another thing.
I don't think I knew that. I just knew the most recent one.
Yeah, no, he does.
With
He
the
has
crazy
like 5 or 6. He's got Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we forget about Tesla? Tesla's now worth more than Ford, Chevy, Nissan all put together. Like,
I think their stocks just split too.
Yeah, they did.
Oh
Split in 4, and
yes.
so Elon Musk, as far as like innovation, not leadership necessarily, but like innovation and passion, and he honestly doesn't care what people think. He's going to build everything he can before he dies.
That's so true. Like,
yeah.
it's
It
like
really
he's
is.
dying, and he's like, I need to do this.
Yeah. And he's just so interesting to me.
He is. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a very interesting person.
But one person I do look up to a lot, and not because of his leadership skills, but Mark Cuban.
Yes, I love him. I love
He's a
Shark
very
Tank.
interesting guy.
He is my favorite.
He
He's
is,
awesome.
and like what I love about him is that, and I don't know everything about him. I don't know any of his bad stuff. Like, everybody's got bad stuff, but he's a billionaire and he's so down to earth.
Yeah.
And I think to have that level of like humility, I guess maybe is the only word I can think of. It's just, or like normalcy. Like, you'll see TikTok videos with him dancing with his kids. Like, how many millionaires do you know make time for their kids like that?
Yeah.
You know, or how
I think
many?
that's the ultimate win, though, is to be a billionaire and still be able to
That's
hang
what I'm
out with
saying,
your kids.
right?
Like,
Like,
that is a giant
Yeah.
win.
He doesn't have a political agenda. Like, he'll talk crap about both parties. Like, he'll, you know what I mean? Like, he'll talk crap about the NBA. If he doesn't like something, he talks about it. And I love that. Like, the guy can't be bought, but he's a family man. And $1 billion is $1,000 million. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a crazy
to get
amount
to
of
that
money.
level and still be a normal
Yeah, he's,
dude
like,
that
really
like
cool.
can joke around and make time for TikTok with your kids, I think that's the dream. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so true.
For sure. Okay, so before we get into the lightning round, I want to ask you one last question. How do you stay motivated? And do you ever, I mean, you seem like you have it all together, and honestly, young entrepreneurs looking up to you, what can you tell them about motivation? How do you battle unmotivation? Do you ever
Yeah.
have days like
That's
that?
a great question.
yeah, my answer may not be everyone's favorite. I don't necessarily I don't thrive off motivation very often at all. I thrive off consistency. So I'm a super habitual person to a T. And so, like, you know, some days I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. More often than not, I'm not a morning person, but I'm up early in the morning. And I force myself to have these habits because I know the outcome is greater than the pain that it takes to go through it. Right. And when we talk about pain, like getting up early is not painful.
Right.
It's just like it's a leisure to be able to stay in bed. And so, but there are so many people, especially young people, that just prefer to sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or they prefer to get up just on time to make it to work or whatever. And so, like, when I worked in the corporate world, I got up early enough to read before I went to work or to write and to journal and to get coffee and do my morning routine. And when I was done with work, I was doing more stuff. And so I rarely am ever that motivated. Honestly.
Do you think discipline has a lot
yeah,
of a play on that?
absolutely. And so, you know, growing up again, I had to acquire that discipline because we didn't have the things that even normal kids had around us. So it was like, I need to find a way to at least catch up. And then it became, you know, I want more. And obviously I had, like, I would say unhealthy ambitions as a kid. And then I got saved and that sort of shifted and my gears and values changed. But even still now, I think that we have a responsibility, or I do as a Christian. I don't know where everyone stands in that, but like to do my best every single day.
Yeah.
And that might look different. Like I sort of grade my days. And so if I have a 70% day, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. But I'm not just going to give up on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the great
love
part about
that.
working so hard, though, is because when you do
Yeah.
actually have a 60, 70% day, you're like, all right, I can give myself some grace.
Yeah.
Because I've been
You know you
working my
did.
ass off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all
That's
good here.
awesome.
And then, you know, not to boast, like my 70% day is probably twice as much as the average person's day.
we know. We
can
So-
relate.
Oh, heck yeah. That-
And so,
That's
you know,
probably true.
motivation, how do I get motivation? Coffee is probably the best answer.
Yes.
Caffeine.
Oh, man, don't look at...
Caffeine.
Yeah, like, so like when I, you know, I'm like, I need coffee,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so, and I have routines, like I have, like, if I'm midday slump, like I'm gonna lay down for like 10 minutes, like have a
Power
quick
nap?
shut-eye power nap,
Oh, I
yeah.
love it.
Okay. So
Um,
you can't do
He's
power
pro
naps.
nap.
So like I have all these
Anti-nap.
little hacks that I have, you know what I mean? Like I need to, sometimes if I'm having a miserable day by 12 or 1, like in miserable, again, it's probably not that bad in reality, but it's just not what I wanted
Things
so
not
far.
going your way.
I'll start over. I'll take another hot shower. Like, 'cause that's what I do in the morning.
Oh my
That is a
gosh.
fabulous
That
tip.
This last part is my favorite.
Start your day over, you guys.
Yeah.
You heard it
Oh,
here
love
first.
it.
So it's like,
Me too.
I get to just
Reset.
redo it, you know, because
Yeah.
I have a routine, and I when I wake up in the morning, I sit in the shower for about 20, 30 minutes. That's where I pray and, like, meditate and kind of wrap my head around the day and wake up, because, again, I wake up and I'm not happy about it. So,
I love hearing that too, because when successful people, like, they come on a podcast and you're like, oh, how's your morning? They're like, I get up at 4 a.m. It's great. It's a great day. And I'm like, what in the
I
world?
love it. He's so real. And that's a perfect point, though. I mean, it's not that you have this thing in your mind where you're saying, oh, I'm motivated. He
It's
just has, like,
discipline.
a process. And
Yep.
it, you know, would you say a habit is what keeps you
for sure.
motivated?
Yeah. And I've been living a similar structure to my lifestyle for a very long time. Like, exercise is a non-negotiable for me 4 to 6 days out of the week. But rest is too. So like today's my off day from the gym. So is Sunday. Like the weekends, I still get work done, but I don't make meetings. I don't take calls. It's a leisure weekend unless I spent 4 days in the woods last weekend, like hiking
Bear
and mountain
Grylls up
biking,
in
you
here.
know? So like I go 100% knowing that I'm going to reward myself at some
Yeah.
point. And
That is exactly how we feel
So,
too.
Yeah.
It feels
um,
so much better to go on vacation or to go relax when you have worked
Knowing
your
that you
butt
worked
Yeah.
off.
for it.
Yeah.
absolutely. And then when you do something that serves, I think, a greater good, like, and not even to be so esoteric, but the fact that, like, what we do is putting healthy food in front of people, which changes their life so much more than they even know. And then even with you guys, right, like real estate, you get to give people their first home,
Yeah.
or transition out of a
investment.
home that they maybe had bad memories and they want to shift homes. Like, there's so much to it if you think about it, you know. And so, like, pursuing that mission it makes it easier to be motivated.
Absolutely.
That's great. Okay. Lightning round.
Favorite part of the podcast.
Okay. Morning or afternoon workout?
Afternoon.
All right.
Evening, really,
Interesting. Favorite Starbucks drink, or you can just say coffee. I know you go to Sego.
Yeah. If I was going to Starbucks, cold brew, but most of the time, like, if I want to treat myself, it's a dirty chai with like quad shot
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
and almond milk.
Yes. Okay. Boneless or bone-in wings.
That is such a good one.
Bone in, but boneless right now is actually there's like a petition to
There
change the
is.
name of boneless wings
To
to
what?
chicken nuggets.
I saw that.
I'm sorry. I'll never be okay with that.
There's like a legal
I did
petition to
call
change.
it-
Calling a boneless wing
I
a
almost
chicken
reposted
nugget.
that.
That's
So
what it
funny.
is,
It's
though.
true.
Oh, you're cheapening.
It
you're
is a
cheapening
chicken
the food.
nugget. I'm chicken nugget fan all the way on.
You're a chicken nugget. We're boneless wings over here. You're a chicken
Whatever.
nugget.
Okay, squat or deadlift?
Oh, that is
I knew I'd get him on this one.
These are good.
wow. Deadlift.
Okay,
Yeah,
respectable. Summer or winter?
summer.
Okay, all right. The last one was easy.
I'm a
Yeah.
Florida boy. Even though it's really humid, it's just
It'd
like
be
you,
hot here lately.
you don't know how to
we,
plan for
we
the
have
winter
like a
here,
week
though.
of winter here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jared, I want to thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. We got a
This
lot
was so
out of
much
this.
fun.
This was awesome.
great
You
time.
literally have given us so much nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah. So many chicken nuggets of wisdom.
You're welcome.
Okay, real quick, how can our followers follow you? How can they follow your journey? What can they what social media can they
Yeah,
follow?
I'm most active on Instagram, so it's Jared AXL Graybeal. It's my real middle name. And then I have a website, jaredgraybeal.com. And that's where you can find the podcast and
And
the blog.
Superfit Foods.
Yeah, and Superfit Foods. Follow Superfit_foods. And the website superfitfoods.co.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jared.
you.
Thanks for having
We'll
me.
see you
Have a
guys
great
next
day, you
week.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.